guest today, Dr. Cassandra SLIGH Conway. She's a full-time professor in the Department of Human Services in the Rehabilitation Counseling Program. She currently lives in South Carolina with her husband and 2 children. She's made several publications in the area of mentoring, leadership, counseling, and issues related to people's physical disabilities. Her latest books are faculty mentorship at historically Black colleges and universities. Dr. SLIGH Conway has a profound feeling for Colombia, especially for Palmira Valle, where there is a productive eco-village led by women heads of household called Nashida, and she hopes to publish a book soon entitled Nashida, A Song of Peace, and a second book on this eco-village by 2021. Today in the AGORA, a meeting place. Very good afternoon, friends. Welcome to your program, The AGORA. Cassandra SLIGH Conway, a vision of an African-American professor. Very good afternoon, Cassandra, and welcome to our program, The AGORA.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here today.
Cassandra, tell us, you've written or you are in the process of publishing a book about Colombia. Tell us a little about your book.
One of the books that is about to be published is entitled Nashida, A Song of Peace. I visited Nashida twice, May 2018 and December 2018. And when I visited, it was a wonderful trip in which I learned a lot about the culture of an eco-village in Palmira. I visited with the women there and Angela, and I learned a lot about the culture there and learned about the many businesses that the women utilize to sustain their lives there. And see, the book talks about all of these aspects. And not only does the book talk about this, it also features the interviews and documents their lives through the photographs. And it also documents the lives of the women on a day-to-day basis. It also shows a lot of their, their lives as far as, what they do in the stores. It features those type aspects as well.
What inspired you to write about Nashira, Cassandra?
I think I was actually teaching a class that was related to women's studies years ago. And I had just a compassion to write about women's issues anyway, to do this type of research. And I just started looking into it further. And I started looking around and started researching different areas that had eco-villages. And I stumbled upon the area really and started looking into it. And like I said, I went to a conference in Costa Rica, actually, and I met some faculty members at that particular conference and started talking with them and found out more about some areas for possible research and just started looking into it and found out about the eco-village, and that's how it happened.
I think it's something extraordinary that Cassandra has come to Nashira in that form. Changing the subject a little, truly, there is something very serious in American society, and it has to do with discrimination or with the way in which since the police traditionally has always used these brutal forms to handle the African American population. Why does this just now come to the surface?
I think there has always been an awareness of it. I think it's never stopped being an awareness. I think that what happened with George Floyd, because of the intensity, because the 8 minutes, 46 seconds of somebody having their knee on his neck, the intensity of somebody having their knee on your neck, the intensity of somebody having their knee on your neck for 8 minutes, 46 seconds. And if you haven't seen the video, it will make you cry. 8 minutes, 46 seconds. I watched the entire video. I cried the entire 8 minutes, 46 seconds. It is hard to get through. It took me an entire week to try to get through the entire 8 minutes, 46 seconds. If you haven't watched it, it will make you cry. I had to get through it because it's something that if you don't watch it, you will not understand the magnitude of how it affected Black America. To see someone cry out for their mother, see a grown man to say, Mom, to see a grown man say, I can't breathe, to see someone not have compassion for humanity, for someone to not lift up their need to try to help, to not have the other policemen who are there seeing somebody suffering like that and not try to help someone. So to answer that question, the torturing of Black people has been very loud and clear for years. I just think the magnitude of this case, and I'm saying 8 minutes, 46 seconds, because to watch someone torture someone for 8 minutes, 46 seconds, that was something to watch. And I think it's just the intensity of this one that just speaks so loud.
Yes, effectively, that has moved not only the American society, but the whole world. And this has been seen in the demonstrations in defense of the life of Black people. Do you believe, Cassandra, that this has polarized the American society?
Well, this is what I say. I say all lives matter. And I think that anytime we say polarization, I think, we think of a group kind of occurring, I'm going to read you something about polarization. It says polarization occurs when we refuse to live near someone who doesn't share our politics, or when we don't want our children to go to the same school as someone else's child because of maybe race. Now, in the United States, that has occurred more so in certain geographical areas in southern states than it should. I can still say in some parts of South Carolina, we still go through some of that where, you have small towns where I see some of that, where you still see some parts of South Carolina still where some people want to remain segregated and not integrated. And it's really sad. It's really, really sad that we still live in a world like that. But we need to learn to build bridges with one another.
Well, it's truly sad that this situation remains happening in our society. And Cassandra, how do you see the reactions of the Republican government with this situation?
I guess I'll go back to the executive order. I saw Trump's, I'll go when I looked at Trump's reaction to the executive order. I watched him on TV. He talked about the executive order, and he said that, he talked about the databases, that he wanted to have a database where he would look at the officers, look at the excessive, there were any excessive force used by any police officers, that he would now maintain a database of that. And he said that he would have training that will look at not using chokeholds anymore towards the citizens. But Trump's executive order does not address racial bias. There were many things that his executive order did not address. Trump's executive order did not address the racial injustices that have gone against a lot of people, not just Black people, all people. There are people of all colors that have been treated unfairly that his executive order did not address. All people of color, Black, white, green, all colors. He did not address any of those things. Not just Black people, all lives matter. But his executive order did not go into any of those things. So I had issue with his executive order because his executive order did not go into anything regarding racial bias.
Cassandra, do you believe that the elections that come in the United States will be manipulated so that Latinos and African Americans can not vote?
Well, I'm hoping that there will not be, but it seems that the last election there were some issues, and it seems that each time there may be some issues with the voting. I'm hoping that there will not be, but like I say, it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. You know, there have been so many things happening lately. I would like to be an optimist. I would love to be an optimist. However, you know, after the, you know, what happened with George Floyd, you know, my heart is just so, you know, so deeply saddened, uh, you know, just by the injustices towards just people in general. Until, you know, I can only pray and pray hard, you know, for our nation as a whole.
Cassandra, the United States is a democracy, and it has been said that at this time it takes a lot of effort for people who are not white to vote. How is that of not allowing them to vote?
I think that obstacles are put in place that make it difficult. For instance, like people who live in very rural areas, you know, transportation is an issue to get to certain places. And, you know, they just put different things in, you know, to make it hard to get to, you know, certain locations to vote. You know, the ID thing, you know, we had one ID that was okay for voting. Then they made it where you had to have a different type of ID for vote. So they keep putting these different obstacles. I feel that politically things are made difficult, things are manipulated sometimes to get a certain vote a certain way.
The Trump government has been highly criticized with all this uproar. Do you think that the elections are going to be won by the Democrats?
I'm not quite sure that it will be because at this point, I'm not sure if there will be, I don't know what they're doing with this COVID-19 and how they're trying to use COVID-19 to possibly manipulate some things.
But do you think that COVID-19 is actually going to play in Trump's favor?
No, I'm just not, I'm not sure how he could possibly use it. I'm not saying it's going to play in his favor, but I'm just saying if it gets worse, you know, he could say, well, you know, things are just too bad. I don't know how he can manipulate that. I'm just saying he's so clever, you know, he's so not that he's a genius. Now don't get me wrong. I'm just saying he's he's just so clever at the way he tries to do things, tries to manipulate. You know what I mean? I wouldn't put it past him to try to manipulate or try to do something. Not that he'll use COVID-19, but he might try to manipulate and try.
It's very sad that this is happening in the United States, in one of the greatest democracies, and we hope that this does not actually continue. Cassandra, what's your vision of how the world will change after this COVID-19? What's the future of the United States and the world in general?
I see that COVID-19 is one of the things with disaster management. It really has to be one of those things that has to be under control. It has to be something that has to be uh, taken underneath a grant to be taught and taken underneath like NIH and some other grant sources and taken on a national level where we can get together with different sources to try to get it under control. And until we do that with all the countries coming together, it's going to keep, you know, we're going to keep working in silos because to me, we're not coming together enough on it. To me, it's like we're working apart too much. And I think we need to come together more. Because I'm always hearing this is what Italy's doing, this is what the United States is doing, this is what Russia's doing. You know, every time I'm looking at TV, it's like different groups are doing different things. Okay, but what are we doing universal?
Cassandra, how do you see now the world's future? How the world will have changed after this pandemic where people have to get locked down? We don't know if we are going to be able to travel again. You don't know if you are going to be able to come back to Colombia. How do you see the future? Not only of the United States, but of the world in general.
I see the world as a world where we really need to be able to look at each other and see our brothers and our sisters as being those as people, as people. We need to see each other as human. We need to see each other not as what we see on the outside so much. I think as people, we look at each other on the outside and we look at each other just, why do we look at each other on the outside so much? Why can't we see the inside? Look at our hearts. What is your heart? Are you a good person? Are you a good person? You know, what does it matter about the clothes you wear? About what you did yesterday? What does it matter about whether you were a criminal yesterday? What does it matter about what you did in the past? What does it matter about whether you did a jail term for 20 years? What does it matter about whether you were Catholic? What does it matter about whether you were an atheist? The point is, if somebody is doing something wrong towards you at that moment, and they have their knee on your neck and they are killing you, you are a person at that moment. For 8 minutes, 46 seconds, you are dying. That is a person. I said, I guess for me, that's when you're asking me that question, that's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about the George Floyds of the world. I'm thinking about the Cassandras of the world. I'm thinking about the Angelas of the world. I'm thinking about the Anna Marias of the world. I'm even thinking about the Trumps of the world. Because for me, Trump is even human. I don't hate Trump. There are people in the United States that say they hate Trump. I don't even hate Trump. I don't like some of the things that he says and he does. But we have to see people as a people, but not see people and hate people.
Cassandra, that what you tell us moves us all, and we have to try that this world is composed with more love and less hate. I hope that this experience of COVID changes us in some way. Would you be happy that your children grow up in the United States, or do you expect a better country for them?
I'm happy that my children are growing up in the United States. Well, I never thought that I would see a pandemic. I never thought that I would be living in, this COVID-19. I never thought that I would be able to see George Floyd situation. But I think that sometimes I think through evil, sometimes good comes out of evil. Not saying that I want to see things come out of evil, but I think that sometimes through evil, good does come out of it. I think that we have to find the positive in things that sometimes are supposed to break us, and that's why I feel that whatever you believe in, you have to make sure that you believe in it so well that nothing can break. And that's why I don't judge people for what they believe in. If you believe in a rock and that rock makes you stand up, that's what your belief in it is. I try not to put people down. I was raised to not put people down. I was raised to not judge people by the outside. I was judged to be as kind to people as I can. I was raised to do unto others and try to do as much good as in this world as we can. Those are the things that we can count on. I think that we have to forgive one another. We can't go through life having grudges. One thing I think you can't do is keep hate in your heart. If you keep hate in your heart, you know that's a bitter heart.
What a beautiful message, Cassandra. And with this message that Cassandra gives us for the future and for life, we all have to continue moving forward. The Americans, the Colombians, everyone must continue moving forward without pain in the heart.
Thank you very much, Cassandra, for being with us in this program.
Thank you for having me, and I truly enjoyed this. I always enjoy being with the both of you as well.
Thank you very much, Cassandra. It's been an excellent interview. I truly have her in my heart, and I believe we have her in our hearts. Cassandra, thank you very much, and you continue in your channel, Telepacifico, and thank you for being with us from your homes.